Carnell from Carnell's Collision and Sykes. And I'd like to welcome everybody here today to our facility. We've been in business for 41 years. I just told my age, I think. But we enjoy what we do with the number one shop in the Boot Hill as far as production. We fix probably between 800 to 1,000 cars a year. It's a hard way for me sometimes if there's that many people that have accidents. People do, and for all different types of reasons. Some of them from just a light scrape to full-blown collisions. We always.
She said we can't hear you.
We always hope that nobody ever gets hurt, but sometimes that happens. But anyway, we started with just me and my father. We was working behind the shop at our home. We had a one-car shop behind the house. And we started there. My dad actually started teaching me the auto body skills and mechanical skills. I ended up going through the vocational department of Sykes High School, the auto body class and the welding class. And so we got the certificates there and went on to open our own business the month I graduated. And we just continued to grow. We went from a one-car stall to now we have over 25 stalls in our facilities. We have a location here. We also have a location across town where we do our automatic detailing or auto detailing on our cars. And so they've asked me to talk today about our business and about also what it would take to work at a place like Carnell's and some things that we look for in people that want to pursue a vocational field in the auto body industry. Right now, there's a nationwide shortage of auto body techs, mechanics, anybody in the service industry. There's a shortage because of a lot of kids have decided to go to college and maybe they didn't know what their career path was, when they come out of high school, or they may have went to some vocational classes and then decided to pursue other careers or whatever. But in our industry, our median age is around 50 to 60 years old for an auto body tech. And so we're asking for more young people to come into the industry. There's some good income that can be made from our industry. We have people that work in the front in the offices. We also have people that work in the back. We have different skill levels. We in the office, of course, everything's all computerized now. And everything in the back is going more and more computerized with our equipment, with the cars now. The new Dodge truck has like 130 or 40 sensors on the truck. So everything's moving more and more electronics. And so we have to constantly stay in training, constantly stay in tune with what's happening in the vehicles and with being an independent shop instead of being like a Ford shop or a Chevrolet shop or a Nissan shop. We're an independent shop, which means we work on all makes and models. And so we have to have the training in all the different areas. And so I've always bragged about my techs are the smartest ones out there, only because we work on so many types of vehicles. And next week, I've got a Tesla coming in. And that's something new because, of all the computerization on that and electronics and stuff like that and the electric powered car. But we also work on some of the classics, some of the ones in our showroom. We're standing in front of a 1929 Mercedes-Benz. So we have to have quite an array of knowledge on what it takes to fix something like this, but also to fix the Tesla that's coming in next week. We also do repairs on boats, motorhomes, motorcycles, UTVs, painted airplanes, and stuff like that. But once we have the skill set, we can pretty well work on anything. Well, the Veterans Park in Sykeston has a battle tank that we painted. It has a fighter jet that we painted out there. I have painted x-ray equipment for the doctor's office. I've painted furniture for people remodeling their homes and they want a certain color furniture. So you're not really confined just to painting a car. There's a lot of other areas that can venture out from this. We've had people come through our business that's worked with us, that's ventured on to become a custom painter. Or they went on into the insurance field and be an insurance adjuster, appraising cars. We've had people move from our industry into the classic cars or even hot rods or racing and stuff like that. But they got to start in auto body or auto mechanics. So this is our business. And so they asked me to talk about what I look for if an employee, a prospective employee comes into our business. Let's just say that you wanted to come in for an interview. Well, the first thing I'm going to look at is I want to see how you're dressed. I want to see how you take care of yourself, because when a person works for us, they're representative of our company to the environment around them. So whether they're at work or whether they're at home or anywhere, then they can people can have either negative or positive feeling about that person representing our company. So we want to make sure that the person I'm interviewing takes care of themselves, they hold themselves well. When they talk to me, I like them to look me in the eye. When I ask questions, if they're not stumbling for answers, that they're pretty sure of themselves. I like to also know a little bit about their background. What are they doing in school? How are they doing in school? How are their grades? How are their attendance? What are their likes and dislikes? What are their hobbies? Do they like they like stuff with cars, after school. They like racing. They like horses. Do they like spending time with their dog, or playing games on the TV or whatever? There's different things that people like to do, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I just like to know a little bit of background of the person, because that tells me a lot about that person. Because a person that has hobbies is usually a person that's got a pretty good mindset about life in general, because they enjoy working, but they also enjoy doing stuff after hours. I also like to see what kind of work background they have. So if they have any time in the workforce, then I like to see how long they've been employed at a place. If I see a person that's jumping from job to job to job to job to job, it really makes me nervous, because I think, well, maybe they're just going to jump from here to jump somewhere else. When I hire people, I hire them for a long time. I don't want to just work them for a few months or a few years. I've had employees work for me as long as 30 years. And I've had others working for 20, 15, 16 years. And I know it seems a long time to you at a young age, but at the same time, their skill level grew to where they're making more and more income. I had one gentleman in particular. He was going to the Votech school. He came out of the auto body program. He went to work for another shop for about a year, and the guy trained him just a little bit. But he came to our shop, and I continued to finish training him, sitting to a lot of different classes and things. He became our #1 producing tech that we ever had. We call those monster techs. And so he was able to produce in a week, a 40-hour week, he was able to produce about 106 hours of work. Well, that's about $2,000 something paycheck a week. And that's a lot of money. That's $50 or $60 an hour, And so there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of more professional stuff, doctors and lawyers, whatever, that don't even make that kind of income. So I'm not saying everybody does that here, but the possibility is here, because I never limit anybody in what they want to make. But a lot of it comes from his heart, what his drive was, what his desire was. And when he came, that's what he decided to do. He would not allow any distractions, to distract him. I'm not saying, don't smoke. Well, actually, I probably do say don't smoke, but he didn't smoke. He didn't take breaks all the time. He was very cautious about who would call him on his phone or try to distract him from his work. And so the end result is he got the biggest paycheck than anybody here. And I enjoyed writing it every time I did, because when he produced it for me, of course, it got me to make money. So the opportunity is here. If you want to be a body man, if you want to just do framework, if you want to be a painter, painting cars, if you wanted to work in the office, we have parts managers, we have business managers, we have finance managers here, and we have cleanup, auto detail people. So there's a lot of different areas that you can be here, and your pay would depend on your skill level, your experience, and how hard you work at that job. So some of the things I look for in an interview are how you're dressed, how you handle yourself, your background, your skill levels, and then I'd rather take somebody with less experience working in a shop, but that has a very positive attitude and good work ethic, and is going to show up on time every day. One thing I look at is, look at what their school area is that their tardiness. Was it tardy? Was it late? Did they call them sick? Stuff like that. Because whatever you do in school, usually times a reflection of what you're going to be at work too. So these are some of the things I look at. So the type of employees desire, they asked me to talk about that. And basically that's it, And either, you have experience or you don't. It really doesn't matter much to me on the first interview. I just look at if somebody doesn't have experience, where can I put them in a position and then give them an opportunity to grow within the company. And I think that's a lot true with a lot of different businesses, not just in the auto body industry, but even at a convenience store, at a clothing store, at a factory, whatever. They look at more of the heart of the individual. They look at more of your morale, how good of a positive attitude, because they're going to put you around other people too. And you don't want somebody that's going to be negative pulling down the other people in the company, because it creates a negative morale, and then the production falls too. So this is the things you need to look at. And so I encourage you to not only look to things in your scholastic and in your vocational training, but also look at things for personal development. You know, read some positive thinking books. You know, read books like the Art of Thinking Big, or the Greatest Salesman in the World. A lot of positive books out there to further your education. You know, I'm as old as I am. I'm constantly learning. I'm still learning every day. I'll learn something today that I didn't know yesterday. So always keep an open mind. And sometimes we have to live with change. You know, I embrace change because change is usually for the better. You know, people say, well, the good old days. Well, you know, my dad and my grandpa would talk about the good old days and how they walked 16 miles to school barefoot in snow uphill both ways. Well, I kind of enjoy driving my vehicle. I enjoy the heater and the air conditioning, and I enjoy my phone that I can text somebody or email somebody or, you know, whatever. So I think these are the best times to be living. I think you've got golden opportunities right now to create income. And even with our economy, with what it's doing with the pandemic and stuff like that, did you realize that more millionaires came out of the Depression than any other time in history? Because they took a lot of the negatives that was happening in the Depression, but they looked for golden nuggets of opportunity. And they're out there. You have a lot at your advantage right now with just like on your cell phone. You have access to every information all over the world. If I needed something back when I was younger, I had to go to an encyclopedia, or I had to find somebody that knew something about that, or go somewhere to get trained. We call it YouTube University here. If my guys have a question about something, about a car or something like that, they can go to YouTube, and usually the answer is there if they don't have it in some of our other readings. So you have the world at your fingertips. You have a golden opportunity to be more successful than anybody in history. But it all starts right here. You got to have a positive mindset. You got to have a heart. You got to have a drive. You got to have a good work ethic. You got to have stability. You got to have high morals and principles. And that's a big key right there. You know, you take somebody that if they're doing something illegal, if they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing, whether it's to the fellow man or against the law or whatever, that person hardly ever succeeds in life. You know, and it's the little things that count. And I seen a post on Facebook the other day. It said, I've never seen a very successful person ever leave a shopping cart in the middle of a parking lot. And that is so true. Because a successful person understands that if they don't put that up, somebody else has to. And that's the problem with our society a lot nowadays, that we rely upon somebody else to pick up the trash that we throw out the window, or we don't put the shopping cart back, or we don't do this, or we don't do that. So the morale, your morals and your principles that you have, and even if you grew up in a home that didn't teach that, I encourage you to embrace that. Embrace trying to be the better person today. And I've got a poster hanging up here that says, whatever you do today, do it better tomorrow. And so there's a lot of different areas in life. And these posters that I've got hanging up in the showroom, these are from books that I have read, some things that I have learned, little sayings that help me get through life. This one right here says, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. So dance, baby, dance. You know, you've got a golden opportunity in front of you. So working on the job, what does a typical work day look like? Well, here at Carnell's, we start early. The managers get here at 7 o'clock so they can kind of get things ready for the morning meeting. They'll go through the parts that we received at night. We have trucks that hit us all night long, and they have keys to our facility. They can drop parts off. We trust them to do that. And so our parts are here. And so we do such a volume, we have to go through the bigger parts departments in like St. Louis, Memphis, bigger areas like that to give us the volume that we have. They check the parts in. We have a morning meeting every morning. At Carnell's, we start with scripture and prayer. That's just how we start our day. I have a little prayer. I say, God, we'll do our best. You do the rest, and we'll do everything we can to make this business successful. And so we've done that for 40-something years. And so then we have a morning meeting. We go over all the jobs that are coming in that day, jobs that are already here, where they're at in the work process, and we'll plan our day. That way, all the employees in the office and in production all know what each other are doing throughout the day and know how to plan their day, because the body man may need something painted so he can reinstall it that afternoon. So the painter already knows what his day is going to be like. So then we'll work till noon. Everybody takes lunch. We have an hour lunch, and then we work till 5 o'clock and we go home. And very rarely do we ever have to have people working late hours or on the weekends. Sometimes my guys will choose to do that just because if they've got a job that they want to get done and they want to make a bigger paycheck for whatever reason. And I encourage that if they want to do that. But I don't encourage them spending a lot of time away from their home, from their wife or their family, because that's important too. Because then you go back to your principles. If you're not taking care of things at home, things at work aren't going to be that good either. So the question was, how much can an employee make working for your organization? Well, I kind of touched on that earlier. It all depends upon an employee. If I have to constantly be telling somebody to do something over and over and over and over and over again, it's really hard for me to get in the mindset that I want to give that person a raise. Because I'm thinking, if I have to do that, then I can't expect them to ever take something and take a project or whatever and take it and run with it without me having to be there and use my resources to make that person do that. So I look for people that will take something, and when I say something, when the boss says something, that it's as good as gold. I mean, that's the bottom line. The buck stops here. So when the boss says something, really he should only say it once, maybe twice at the most, and then you take it and run with it from that point. So that is the mirror reflection of how much a person makes is how much they're worth. How much they're worth to that organization. How much are they pouring into that organization? What are they doing to that organization to help it grow, to help it get organized, to help it save money and make money? See, it's not always about your paycheck and what you get. You can only get your paycheck by helping the company make money. The more the company makes, the more successful. I've never seen a very successful company that didn't take really good care of their employees. And that's just the way it goes. And I don't mind doing that either. But I want to make sure that they got their sleeves rolled up. They're doing everything they can. They're not sitting there on their phone all the time. They're not visiting with friends. They're not, when they're here with me, my time, what I'm paying them for, I'm paying for their time. And I don't like to pay them to be on their phone, because they've dedicated that time to me. So how much can an employee make? If you start out at minimum wage, depending on which area you're in, you can increase those. And I don't know if I've ever started anybody out minimum wage, because I've always felt like people are worth more than that. If they got a good character, good morale, any experience at all, then we pay more than minimum wage, at least starting out. And then the sky's the limit from that point. So my employee, the one that I was talking about, the Monster Tech, I think his highest year was close to 120,000 he made in 1 year. I don't know very many vocations out there that make that kind of money. And so that's kind of the sky's the limit there.
Can you tell us, you loved art and drawing. Could you tell them about how you enjoyed the artistic side and went into collision, how it blended itself to that?
Sure.
Could you share with that?
And I love art, and that was where my heart was in art. I had 6 years of art through the school here in Sykes. And so when I was in 10th grade, my dad came to my room and he asked me, he said, what do you want to do when you get out of school? And I said, well, I want to be an artist. And he said, well, that's fine. He said, you ever heard of the term starving artist? I laughed. I said, yeah. He said, well, why don't you let me teach you a trade and you can fall back on your artistry or vice versa. And he was a mechanic, which I still this day, I really don't care for mechanic work. I like body work more. And so he said, why don't you let me teach you a trade and fall back? And I said, well, I really don't want to be a mechanic. He said, what about body work? And he said, you can fix cars up, or you can do custom painting on cars like flames and stuff like that. Boy, the light bulb just went off, and I thought, hey, I've been wanting to learn how to airbrush anyway. And so I started doing that. And I remember my first flame job. I hate for anybody to see it right now because it didn't look much like fire. But so from then on, I went on. And so my artwork has developed to where I've been in mostly all the major magazines with some of my work. I've been in Carcraft magazine. I've been in Street Rodder magazine. I've been in Trucking magazine. I've been in newspapers all over the country, TV, radio interviews and stuff like that for some of my artwork. I call that the fun stuff,
Is that one of them?
That's one of them. And
Tell them about your dare card.
So this dare card, the police chief called me one day and wanted me to do a paint job on a dare card that started a dare program in Sykeston. And some of you may have went through that. And so I come up with this design. He wanted to keep it black and white. So I come up with this design and just kind of kept the black and white, but put flames on each end. Put the dare down here, badged it up and everything. We sent it off and we sent it to the police and they used it. Well, they ended up entering into a regional competition for the dare program and they won #1 dare card in the Tri-State region. Then they entered a national and won #1 dare card in the world. Then they entered an international and won, no, in the nation, then they entered international, won #1 dairy car in the world. So by that time, it had TV and magazines and stuff like that. The Mattel Toy Company seen it, and they called me and wanted to do a little matchbox of it. And so they did, and they introduced it in China, introduced it in the United States. It sold at KB Toys, Toys R Us, Walmart, stuff like that. It was in a collectible set. And that little matchbox, they called me 6 months later, ended up becoming the #1 toy collectible that Mattel had for 6 months. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And it all started with a phone call and a flame job that I thought was so simple. So you never know, where life's going to take you. You never know that moment in life, but you have to set yourself up. You have to set yourself in a positive mental state of mind. You have to set yourself up with high morals. You have to dig in at school, get everything you can to learn at school. The things that you learn at school, you never know what you learn at school that's going to help you later on in life. And so I encourage you just to roll up your sleeves and do everything you can to get all the information you can at your age. So, any other questions? We can talk about motorcycles.
Yeah, and did you touch on what all jobs are back there?
Sure.
Okay.
So we all going back to the painting and stuff. We also do custom motorcycles. This bike we built a few years ago. We also do UTVs that are real popular now. UTVs and ATVs and stuff like that. Just customizing on it. This bike has the flames on it with the pinstripe flames on top of those.
Wow.
Well, we really want to take a moment and thank you for your time. I appreciate you talking to all the students today about collision repair. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us today to all the schools. I apologize for the beginning, trying to get everything going. First time for the virtual. I want to remind the teachers to please send your pre-ed specialists the names of all the students that are in your class. Appreciate if you could do that today. We'd like to do that. We are scheduling more virtual job shadows. You'll get more information. I know we have a hospital and Lowe's in the future. So thank you again for coming, and remember to send those names of all students to your pre-eds. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.